It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was the right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized into this. Get right on it, Chief.
Skinner, but Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know in the heat of the night on TNT. Heat of the night on TNT. Now I don't put on any airs, but then I ain't no slob. Just a redneck boy with a blue-collar job. The ladies I date, they gonna have 'em some fun, 'cause I'm a big hunk of crime fighting son of a gun. So if you're looking to fight, come on up in the ring. You wanna be held tight, just about anything can happen in the heat of the night on TNT. Hubba, 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 heat of the night on TNT. Yeah.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat from my beloved Central Valley, particularly Fresno and Riverdale, and all the small little towns that dot this great San Joaquin Valley. So happy to have you with us. But in the year 2022, all the other little towns all over the country and world, for that matter, that you have the technology to tune us in. You can get the TuneIn app, and you can hear the radio version, which you can hear all the music, or social media here, Facebook. You can watch the show, but the music gets copyrighted out. We play it. But it's just a great time to be in this type of endeavor if you're trying to, you want as many people as you can to join you. We certainly do here, as Autry's Army continues to grow in size. We're the little engine that could, and we're going to keep rolling down the track until we can't roll no more. Or was it roll or chug? Yeah, you chug and roll down a little rock and roll down the track. But I'm ready for Big Monday. As I said many times, mamas and papas, says Monday, you can't trust that day, but you can trust us here to bring you the best talk in town. I'm not talking about my show. Great lineup here I do the best I can, do my best, let God do the rest. But there's some really good talk shows on this, headed by your local hero, Guillermo Moreno, at 4 o'clock. Jim Franklin, my goodness, he doesn't get your fire burning, your woods wet. You've got Hugh Hewitt and Sebastian Gorka, and just a whole lineup. So just, tune in. They're very, very smart people, very good people. And I'm rip roaring, ready to go. Jeremy, why don't you give us a little no retreat bugle? Yes, I love it. We do not retreat. No retriado, as they say in Spanish. And Howard Dean's, he's ready to go, isn't he? Howard's ready to go. So let's get after it. First of all, I want to thank Donna and Vicky because you did your homework. You watched the movie Failsafe. You know how I feel about this messing around and playing games in a nuclear world that could end this whole thing we call life on this planet as we know it in an instant. And now I know I come from a movie background, but I'm not being overly dramatic when I say that. Not a pleasant subject, but a subject that seems to be ignored, especially in the war in Ukraine and just in general. There's just too many dang nuclear weapons. There's too much anger in the world, too much disconnect in the most, era that we're supposed to be able to communicate in a deeper fashion. I think there's less communication than there's ever been. It doesn't matter how many modes of communication that Biden and Putin have. They refuse to talk to each other. And you're saying Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter what you have, a cell phone, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, if you don't communicate with one another. When's the last time you saw a tweet of any consequence from Kevin McCarthy to Nancy Pelosi or from, Chuck Schumer to Marco Rubio that said anything close to saying, hey, I know we got our differences, but we need to talk. Can we get together for a cup of coffee? And let's talk about this thing on behalf of the people because they're really, really upset that we don't talk. They're really nervous out there. We're supposed to represent them. They expect us to get things done. The only way to get things done in a pluralistic society, in a free society, is to talk with each other and come to compromise. You don't see that. So, and when it comes to nuclear weapons, this movie Failsafe, made back in 1964, I think is a prime example. And they talk about it in 1964. It's uncanny. Very prescient in the dialogue, whoever wrote this, about the advent of technology and how you can't trust technology because eventually, if you keep going the direction they were going in 1964, technology would eventually be the boss. That it was going to control things. That it was going to become basically smarter than the inventors of the technology. Sounds a lot like that AI that we're talking about, that there's a lot to be discovered about this. And my goodness, let's don't implement this blindly, this meaning artificial intelligence, so we know how to really control this stuff. But I want to thank Donna. So I really encourage you, because we're going to dissect this movie down the line when enough people had enough time that more people can watch the movie. And I want you to watch and be ready to call in, because I would make it required viewing of certainly everybody in Congress. And I think every American should sit down and watch this movie. You can get it free on Tubi. If you have Tubi, it's a free app. Jeremy, you're watching it, right? You're about halfway through it. Yeah. Young buck there, he took my fail-safe challenge. They have these ice bucket challenges, the donut eating challenge, what have you. And I'm watch the fail-safe thing. It's a very well-acted movie. Henry Fonda, Walter Matthau, a lot of young'uns out there. Those names don't ring a bell, but wonderful actors. And Larry Hagman, yes, that Larry Hagman, played JR in Dallas, where he made his real mark, is just absolutely brilliant as a Russian interpreter for the president. Henry Fonda plays the president. And you want to see an expose on what leadership should be. And I know it's a movie, but there's lessons in those movies. And Henry Fonda in real life exhibited those qualities. Back in the day, a lot of the actors, John Wayne, Henry Fonda, Jimmy Stewart, Gary Cooper, these were people that were real leaders, not just good actors, how they conducted their lives. And my goodness, Jimmy Stewart, at the height of his career, went off and became a a bomber pilot in World War II. You can go down the line. But anyway, go watch. That's one of the great things about being in the comfort of your own home. You can just fire that thing up, just speak in that little controller you have, if you have one of those, and say fail safe, and it'll pop up there for you. Okay. Does the name James Webb ring a bell? Jeremy? I see Jose behind you. Turn around and ask me if you heard of James Webb. Okay. Huh? He's not ahead yet.
Said something about a telescope?
Yes, Jose. Yes. James Webb, I don't know who he is, but apparently he had something to do with creating a unbelievably powerful telescope. Probably gave him the money to do it. That's what you do. If you give a lot of money to something, you get named for it. Just go around to any university. Who is Joe Smith out there? Boy, he must have been a smart guy. Now you gave him a lot of money. Well, that's a game to play, but I'm not going to James Webb may have been a great scientist who contributed a lot intellectually and what have you to this endeavor of making this telescope. But the exciting thing is it was launched some time back. Again, it makes the Hubble, which is a powerful telescope. I don't know if you've seen some pictures from the Hubble, but they're just fascinating pictures. God, I love this stuff. Going deep into space and finding planets. Never saw, but I mean, like a real life Star Trek cruising along out there. This little vehicle with the telescope. Well, this one, James Webb's telescope, kind of makes the Hubble. I mean, it's like comparing the Concorde to a crop duster. This thing is hugely powerful, and yesterday, NASA announced that they're going to be tomorrow releasing the first pictures from this telescope. And I tell you, to say that they're excited, about ready to jump out of their little space suits there and astronaut suits is an understatement. They say it's just unbelievable what they're getting back. They're getting back from this James Webb telescope. And it's really, to get to this point, it's not easy, because still today, even though the advancements of technology have been huge, it's still iffy from blast off. Elon Musk found that out when his first 3 attempts to go into space, the rocket blew up. Didn't even got a few hundred feet off the ground, bam, blew up. But he stayed with it, and that was using all the technology that we have at our disposal today. He was working hand in hand with NASA. So just to get this telescope into orbit, into deep space, past all of the debris out there, trying to navigate through this space jungle out there, stay intact, and get to the point where you can start, and then have the telescope actually work. Done a lot of reading on this, and they hold their breath because, everything has to fall in line. It's not 3 strikes you're out, or a few mistakes, and there's certain areas of the mission that if there's a mistake in that particular aspect of the mission, they're done. No pictures. So it becomes a multi-billion-dollar failure. But they're out there. That's the good news, and pictures are coming back. And some of the things are kind of tantalizing with. They found a planet that's totally made out of gas. And I think they're going to probably name it Planet Swalwell. Now, I didn't say this whole story to get to that one stupid joke. But anyway, it's a big planet of gas, but they're finding galaxies, getting real close pictures of other galaxies, and then a bunch of other stuff. They're searching for the black hole. Does it exist or does it not exist? Up to this point, there's strong theoretical evidence and some tangible empirical evidence that it does exist, but the jury's still out. And this telescope is supposed to let us know for sure. And here's the kicker. They're able to go so deep into space, according to NASA, that they're going to be able to look. They're able to age the universe to know when it actually started. And they feel they're able to be able to go so deep that it'd be just this side of the 3.8 billion years that scientists believe 3.8 billion years ago that the Big Bang occurred. and created the universe. You're going to get just this side of it. And again, my goodness, how exciting is that? And I kind of chuckle because, folks, the more science and a skeptical secular public and academia in particular, how they laugh at the Bible, that us as believers would believe such fantasies, such ridiculous things. And they kind of make a habit of that, especially the atheists. And tomorrow, we may get to it today, we're going to go over the list of countries and the percentage of atheists they have in their countries. Pretty shocking. But it's been out there that if you believed in the Bible, it's been going on for a long time, you didn't believe in science. And nothing can be further from the truth. God basically created science, and they don't necessarily are mutually exclusive of each other at all. But I say that to bring up this particular point: science versus faith in the Bible. When I was growing up, and it's not too long ago, the thought that God spoke the world and the universe into existence. You read the Bible in Genesis, it talks about that God spoke it. This just happened. And the 7 days, we won't go through all of that. Believers know what he did on each day. And some of you believers out there said, there's only one Sabbath. You got to work the rest of the day, the rest of the week, right? Get off your butt. But this whole notion, this whole proposition was scoffed at, laughed at the universities by the top scientists for decades and decades and decades. Yet they didn't know how it started. When you would nail them down and say, okay, you don't believe the Bible's version of how all this came about. What's your version? When did something begin? Because we all want to do that. It's just something in our DNA. We want to know where we came from. That's why these ancestry things do such big business. We want to know who our ancestors were, what they did. Me, I never knew my father till I was 28. I was raised by a grandfather and a stepfather, and they were the best people in the world, best role models for males that I ever, that a boy could ask for. Yet I wanted my whole life to find my dad. Where did I come from? I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. I never spent like 8 months, the first 8 months of my life there. Yet I had this pull to go back to Shreveport to see where I came from. I wanted to see the buildings. I wanted to see the hospital. And I think we all have this yearning, this desire to find out, where we came from. How did this thing called existence occur? So when you ask them, they the scientists, you don't believe in the biblical version, then you tell us. And they can't. And it's typical of some of the arrogance that travels throughout the scientific community. They can't say, I don't know. They just can't, they can't say it. They say something like, well, there's a scientific phenomenon that occurred. When you press them on evolution, they still haven't found what they call the missing link. When this monkey, this ape, whatever, clearly transitioned to a human. They believe wholeheartedly, it's taught in our schools, everywhere you look, hey, if you don't believe in evolution and you think the world's flat, you're over there with Kyrie Irving. But they still can't find that missing link. They found Neanderthal man, the Cro-Magnon man, all of these so-called mans, the prehistoric man, and then there's the modern man. But they can't find that what they call the missing link. So they say, well, what happened is a scientific phenomena happened in creation when this whole thing, because there's a beginning and an end to anything. We talk the concept of infinity is very hard for a scientist to accept because they can't ration out mathematically what infinity is. There's a beginning and an end to everything. Let's say a scientific phenomenon happened. Well, not too long ago, surprise, surprise, the scientists made a discovery. And they, almost with unanimity now, nearly unanimity, almost every scientist now of any repute out there that has any kind of reputation, says that, and they put a term on it, the universe was created, everything's created with called the Big Bang. Something started with nothing, like one atom, and this atom exploded in an instant, and the whole universe and all the galaxies were created. That's the prevailing scientific opinion now of how this all began. Now, I ask you this. It just happened in an instant. For some reason, this atom exploded. We have the Earth, we have the moon, we have all these other, this gas planet, we had everything was in all from that one event called the Big Bang Theory, instantaneously. Sounds a little bit like somebody speaking existence into existence, doesn't it? For no local way of sounding. Doesn't that sound like the Bible's explanation? When God instantly spoke things into existence. Just a little food for thought there. And that's why on this show, I get hammered when Alan, follow the science. I said, I do. I respect science, but I respect God more. And I know the Bible says, he's going to make the wise as fools. I don't blindly follow science. Science changes. Science will have a rock-hard fact that's impenetrable. If you don't believe this, you're an absolute idiot, and then that position changes, as it did from scientific phenomena to a ridicule of an event that could create the universe instantaneously, now to accept it. So when COVID comes along, look, yeah, I'm going to look at the science, but I'm not going to blindly follow it. They come out, absolutely, we know that this came from somebody eating a raw bat over there in China someplace. Jumped on an airplane, came over here, got off in New York, and we all got COVID. And they're saying, wait a minute, the Wuhan laboratory's right there where this happened. The only high-level laboratory on infectious disease and viruses there. And now it's accepted that that's where the virus came from. The scientific explanation. The science telling you to stay inside in close quarters. Stay in your home around a bunch of people. Don't go out. Don't go out in fresh air, my goodness. And my goodness, don't go to a park. By the way, parks are so dangerous out in that open air. The common sense would tell you would take those particles and dissipate them in the air, that you could stand really face to face with somebody 2 inches away from their face and not get a disease. We know that. Outdoors is where you should be. You close down parks, close down beaches. So stay inside an enclosed area with a bunch of other people breathing over and over and over their breath, your breath. That didn't make scientific sense to me. So I didn't do it. I just flat didn't do it. It wasn't reckless. I was following the science, knowing full well science is not flawless, and science once in a while can go freaking crazy. They can do some crazy, crazy things. Science, like carrying out experiments on black people, telling them they're trying to help them cure syphilis when they're doing a study on them, see how long you can stay alive without treating syphilis. Yeah, that happened, called the Tuskegee Project. History's full of them. So anyway, I hadn't planned on spending this much time on it, but it's exciting because I'm really looking forward to those pictures coming back. You know why? I know what I'm going to see. It's just going to make me more solid in my faith that God created this whole thing we call the world, the universe. And I'm looking for another instance where science is going to prove that. That's why I'm excited about it. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat. We'll be right back. But I am looking forward to those pictures. say they got some doozies. There's some just things that'll just blow you away. That's happening tomorrow, by the way, folks. I don't think I mentioned that before we went to break. But they're gonna make them available to our eyes. Oh, yeah, folks, another great movie dealing with the specter of nuclear war is Dr. Strangelove with Peter Sellers. Funny movie, very serious subject, but it's really entertaining movie. And you'll see George C. Scott portraying a military officer. You see these mindsets that some in the military have. Even today, that's why failsafe is so, gosh, it just captures, what was going on then. Back in the 60s, not just from a military standpoint, but from academia, how people just recklessly said, hey, the war, this is actually good. Nuclear exchange. Survival of the fittest. Crazy stuff. But
30 seconds?
Got about 30 seconds to come.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome back to Alan Autry No Retreat. Excuse me, I just saw where Joe Biden gave a press conference today to celebrate the Safer Communities, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, out on the White House lawn there. And an individual, Manuel Oliver, confronted the president, stood up in the crowd and started talking back to the president as the president was saying, again, praising their work there in Washington on making communities safer with these new gun laws. And Mr. Oliver is the father of Joaquin Oliver, who was killed in 2018, one of the 17 kids killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And the man stood up and said, this is no time to celebrate. What are you going to do? This is basically going to do nothing. And he's right. It's really not going to do. I mean, I guess symbolically, if you believe symbolic things are important, sometimes they are. But unless you address the mental health issues that are the central part of these mass shootings, you're not going to make a dent in them. And as the world gets crazier and crazier, and my goodness, they got all these kids just so packed up with antidepressants and off. I mean, it's just the further we get away from God, the worse the mental health issues are going to be. That's just the truth. The old saying, truth will set you free, but first it'll make you miserable. I really feel for this man. And I think Joe Biden, he probably got a little dose of his own medicine. You saw yesterday, he took a little break from his bike ride to tell reporters that and encourage through the reporters the protesters against the Supreme Court justice to continue. Keep protesting. Keep going to their houses. Keep going to where they go out to eat. Get in their face and keep protesting. If and this was in terms of Roe versus Wade and the displeasure that many have with the decision that the Supreme Court made, just basically egging on the protesters to just interrupt them wherever they may be, either, like I said, either a restaurant or at their home or whatever. Well, he got a dose of his own medicine. Now, when you look at this, as a politician, he's sitting there, what do I do with this? Well, he tried to do the right thing by conversing with the gentleman. Very uncomfortable situation. You can see it on TV. I understand the president being in that situation. But this is the type of behavior you've encouraged Americans to do. There's no such thing as protocol. There's no such place that this is not the place to do that. None of those rules apply according to you. Anywhere, everywhere, you don't like something, a decision, you got a gripe, you have a grievance, you let it be known no matter where you are. Well, this man did. And he was summarily removed from the audience. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been. I'd still believe there's a place, right place and time to do things. And I can't imagine Mr. Oliver, Emmanuel Oliver, losing a son. This is made it a vendetta. It's not the first time he's been disruptive at events like this. I think he climbed up on a crane or something to voice his hurt. Oh, my goodness, he lost his son. I get all that. And that's, I feel for him. But you better be ready if you're going to embrace this type of behavior of assaulting congressmen, like assaulted Lindsey Graham, assaulting Maxine Waters. You're going to come up and say, wherever they are, if they're at a gas station or they're out with their kids at a Little League game, I don't care, whatever, you get in their face and you stay in their face. Well, be ready for it to happen to you. And that's what happened today. And I hope for the better angels and our representatives to step up and say, look, we have to lower the temperature. Everybody's hurting, some more than others, certainly the ones that are families of the victims of the shootings. I really have a burden to bear and distraught. We need to all love on them and work together to do everything we can to make sure that things like this don't happen. The fact of the matter is, it's a violent world. It just happened in South Africa. 2 separate instances, 14 people killed in a restaurant bar area. Just went in, 2 people with rifles and handguns. You don't hear much about it over here because it doesn't go with the narrative. The narrative here with our president only happens in America. Only in America do you have these mass shootings. And that's not wrong. They had one in Norway not too long ago, a mass shooting. So anyway, hopefully this is a wake-up call that they meaning this president, will just stop with his hateful rhetoric. Stop encouraging, aggressive, violent behavior as we try to work our way through this crazy time called 2022 off of the 2 years of the pandemic, which people literally have gone crazy. They've gone crazy. They lost sanity. Not only individuals, but collectively. Certain countries have lost their mind. Look at, you can say all the historical reasons that Russia had, be scared, which they did with the expansion of NATO, but you don't go invade a neighboring country like this. Don't send bombs into hospitals. And again, I said, well, you said Putin wasn't crazy. I said, not as a militarily, he's not imbalanced militarily in the execution of a war, the starting of that war, to just invade. Of course, that's not a balanced person. But there's reasons for that as well. We need to. But anyway, moving on from that, and hopefully Joe Biden will hopefully change his rhetoric and be the uniter that he said he was going to be. My goodness. Listen, the polls just came out. New York Times of all things, Siena College poll has Biden at his lowest. Just saw it on the screen right now. All right. All right. We nobody is really happy with what's going on. He said he's got a 32% approval rating in one poll. I think this that happened. That came out a week ago. This latest poll, I think I saw it at 30%. Give her. I know if it was in a 20, so it may have been wasn't 29%. It might have been 31%. But I'd like to know about 32%. What are you looking at? You say you like what he's doing. You like where he's leading this country. My goodness, I would really like to have you on the show and give me a list of these accomplishments. But here's my point I'm trying to make. He's our president right now. How long? I don't know. I still stand by the belief I don't think he's going to make it to the midterms. I think this Hunter Biden visits to the White House that we're seeing, why would you have Hunter Biden embroiled in all of his shenanigans? Why would you have him being seen walking into the White House? A lot lately. I have my own theory. That theory is I think they're trying to get their story straight. I think the DOJ, Merrick Garland, is going to come after Hunter Biden. I think the FBI is going to come after him. Not because they care about America, that they want to do what's right, what a Department of Justice is supposed to do, not do things politically. The FBI is supposed to do things that are right for America, to protect America, not do things politically for either one of the parties. But I'm a cynic when it comes to this. They're very politicized, the more so than ever. Politicization goes all the way back to J. Edgar Hoover and probably before him, the FBI. I understand that. But right now in this time in history, never has these departments taken the direction of a political party like they are now. The FBI, the CIA, Department of Justice. So all the Republicans, the conservatives can say, this is wrong, do your job, just be impartial. They're still going to do the political thing. And that political thing is what the Democratic Party tells them to do. And the Democratic Party knows that Joe Biden is no longer, if he ever was, well, he got him in office. That was the one thing they wanted. But they knew that he would have certain challenges because of his age and never been, as Barack Obama says, don't ever limit in your thinking of how many times Joe Biden can screw up things. I'm paraphrasing that, not by much. But he has become an albatross around their neck. You have now the specter, unless something happens and happens quick, to turn the tide, that you're going to have a landslide Republican victory in the midterms in the House and have a chance to get the Senate. Then you have 2024 coming up. So they want him out of office worse than the Republicans do. Really, as long as he stays in office, it's the goof up of the day. What's he going to do now to further enhance the Republicans winning in November? I mean, it's the best. He's the best weapon that the Republicans have against the Democrats is their president, our president. Right now. But the fact of the matter is, as I started this little rant here, he's our president now. And one thing he could do, he's already messed up the border. I don't know how you fix that. He's already screwed up Afghanistan. You can't bring those 4 heroes that were killed back to life. You can't stop the rapes that have been going on there and are still going on there. I guess you could if you want to go back in there full bore, but he's not going to. It's difficult to you can't go back and redo the COVID shutdowns. It's been done. You look at, and you could say, yes, he could possibly do, reverse course and do that. Realistically, I don't think he will. I think he's too far to the left. He's too dug in there, and he's just going to go down with the ship. I think he says, I'm 80 years old. What am I going to do? Hey, I got my wife, I got my kid, and I'm just going to go out riding this woke left horse, and I'm going to ride this horse into the ground. But one thing he could do, and I think he would lose some support from the woke left, I think he would expose some people on the right as being just purely political. If he really did start being the uniter, really doing what you said you were going to do? And I would venture to say, I would make this proposition, the one thing that most people that were even Republicans, people like John Kasich and some so-called moderate Republicans, some people would call them rhinos or El Caminos or whatever, but voted for you because of that. Not because of your policy on taxation, not your policies on foreign policy, what have you, was they were worn out by Trump. They were just worn out by what they perceived as the division that he caused, dividing the country, waking up every morning going, what's this next tweet going to be? Like, where's the next press conference where he's just going to rail it? We need to rest. We need some peace. We need a gentle old man, a grandfatherly figure, to come in and say to his kids, everything's going to be okay. Now, Johnny, you stop yelling at Joey. Betty, you go over there and say you're sorry to Jane, and let's work together because we're all one family. That's what he said. We're not the red state, the blue states, we're the United States. Direct steal from Barack Obama, but nothing new for Joe. Plagiarize, won't hold that against him if you really believe that. But he hit the ground, being I feel, the most divisive president we've ever had in history. You say, well, Trump called names and this. Yeah, it was wrong. I called him out where I could on Twitter, on Facebook. Didn't have this show to do it, to call those kind of names. If you want to ingest, call a name, but the names but then you get Biden and calling a woman, a horse-faced pony soldier. Telling people that voted for Trump that they're Neanderthals. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, he is a name caller extraordinaire right up there with Trump. He and Trump were in the name calling Hall of Fame. In fact, I don't think there's anybody that could be inducted. Nixon in private, you listen to the Nixon tapes, he was a name calling, cussing, profane as you get. But he didn't do it in a press conference or a tweet. Tweets back then, I know, but I don't know anyone that comes close to these two presidents. And he promised us he was going to be different. He promised us he wasn't going to lie. They had the lie meter. We're going to bring it in because, Laura, who I love and respect so much, and we needed to do that. She said Trump lies, and when I was comparing Joe Biden's lies, it wasn't to Trump. I'm not one of those guys. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. This country's bigger than that. Trump didn't create conservatism. Trump didn't create a secure border. Trump didn't create lower taxation. Trump didn't create peace through strength. So he just came in and embraced them. So it's not Trump's platform. And you'll see some people on the right that say, hey, this is Trump stuff, Trump stuff. It's Trump's Supreme Court. No, it's a Supreme Court appointed. There was other justices on there appointed by Bush, Clinton, not his Supreme Court. Supreme Court that, the election, through the election process, the conservatives thought prevailed around the country. And this last time, the woke, whatever ideology went through the democratic process. You got Biden, and now you got Ketanji Johnson Brown there, and you're going to have another Supreme Court justice probably appointed by Biden. It'll be very liberal. But you promised to conduct yourself, Joe Biden, in a throwback kind of way. America was saying, we want to go back because what you're calling progress is regression. We don't want to go back. We don't want to be this way. We don't want our leaders profane and calling names. And you look, which brings me to this leading of Brittany Griner. You followed this story. Brittany Griner's a great basketball player. Great basketball. She's been in Russia for several years, back and forth in Russia, playing there, making a lot of money in Russia. But, I played professional football and in the movie business and in politics. That experience, the reason I say that experience has taught me a lot of things. But one thing that stands out in each one of those, that there's probably no more pampered, coddled, revered, adored, and held less accountable than athletes. And it starts in junior high, sometimes back even further than that. You're a great player on a sports team. There's a whole set of rules for you and rules for everybody else. You get a lot of slack. You get a lot of room. You get up to the high school level, even more so. You're not held accountable. College, goodness. It's now dog eat, always dog eat dog, but man, it's really dog eat dog. Stars, you can do just about anything, get away. Pro athletes, my gosh, you can get away, literally, I think, get away with murder. I really do believe that. The star of the NBA, Major League Baseball, or NFL football murdered somebody, and those commissioners knew that nobody would find out. They would be on the field the next game. Now, that is a real cynical way to look at things, but I believe it. I really do. I think we've descended into morality hell that far with the adoration and the worship of athletes. So what does that have to do with Brittany Griner? Well, Brittany Griner's over there in Russia. She knows. Now, this same Brittany Griner who protests against America, won't come out for the national anthem. America's the worst place to be a black person, in her mind. We're a systemically racist country against black people. That was her stance. She decides, okay, I want to go over and make some money in Russia. She goes over there, and then she decides to pack some hashish oil and some other little recreational, toys or whatever. I don't know. You got this. She knows that hashish oil is illegal in Russia. She knows that. She's a smart young lady. I think really misguided with her attitude towards America, but smart. And what she said is, hey, I'm Brittany Griner. I'm in Russia. I get caught with this hash oil. I'm making people come and see me play at all the venues. Russia's paying me $1 million a year to come and do this. They wouldn't hold me accountable to the laws like everybody else. Well, this ain't Kansas anymore, Brittany. You're in Russia. And you went in and you got caught with that hashish oil, and your butt has been in jail since then. Now you pleaded guilty, with smart move, because unless you do that, and I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying I agree with what happened, but there's these athletes are not taught self-discipline. Part of self-discipline is respecting authority, wherever you may be. A classroom, the laws of the city you live in, the state laws. You may not like them, but they're laws. To have respect for authority is part of the self-discipline you have to develop. Well, we don't allow these athletes to develop self-discipline anymore. They've been told that they're special, they're better than everybody else, and they believe it. They've been told that so long, they believe it. So you're over there, you know what you're getting into, you make the mistake, and then what happens? America don't look so bad, does it? Help save me, America. America, I'm in a prison in Russia. Oh, God, America, please help America. Joe Biden, help me, help me. Well, he is, I guess. But here's where the name called him, tying all these segments together. By the way, there's a guy, Bill Richardson, the former governor of New Mexico, who got somebody else out over there. He's heading over to Russia to try to get Brittany. But what happened about Paul Whelan? Paul Whelan is an ex-Marine that's over there, spent sentenced to 18 years in prison on suspicion of being a spy. You haven't heard his name out. And the Whelan's family has been trying to get Biden and all fairness, Trump, to get him out of the Huskow in Russia as well. But you don't hear about him, but you hear about Brittany Griner. Well, Richardson's going to go over there, and you say, well, what about Biden? Well, here's the danger when you just recklessly, cavalierly start calling leaders of other countries horrible, vicious names and then call for their assassination. If Biden called Putin right now, which Biden should try to, the chances are Putin wouldn't take the call, but probably being the chess genius that he is, he probably would. But now Biden's painted himself in the corner. He's going to call and negotiate with a killer, called him a killer, said he should be removed from office, every name in the book. So now you don't have that relationship that heretofore, this happened all the time. You had rivaling countries who really didn't like, even in Israel and the other Arab countries who don't even recognize Israel's right to exist, there was prisoner exchanges and negotiations going on because you didn't hear that personalized attack on leaders. If they went out after Hezbollah, they would demonize Hezbollah, and the Arabs would demonize the JDL. Very seldom do you hear somebody go in and Benjamin Netanyahu demonize them, calling them they don't do that. They're smart because you know what? They know that there may come an occurrence that they need that person. They need that person for something important. Let me tell you, international politics is a dirty business, and it takes a very clever, smart, self-restrained patriot to effectively function on that stage. And Biden now is completely, and who's going to, Brittany Griner. Hopefully Bill Richardson can work something out. You know, it's, this is why I said the way he being Biden is throwing out all these insults, pejoratives towards, not just home here to Republicans and conservatives, anybody that doesn't disagree with them. I mean, he called that reporter that asked him about something, what are you, a junkie? You drug addict? Imagine if Trump would have said something like that, or George W. Bush would have said something like that. For headline news, you said this. You don't talk to reporters that way. And when you see the question that was asked, you're going, boy, that was really a thin-skinned response. You can't have thin skin and be the head of the most powerful nuclear power in the world and have the ability to push the button on the red box. Joe Biden has turned out to be the antithesis, the very exact opposite of who the people who voted for him hoped and thought he was going to be. And that's not the polls show that's not a partisan statement by me. So the question is, what do you do about it? Well, hopefully this guy that stood up and took him on, he'll get a taste of his own medicine because obviously Joe Biden is the most sheltered, probably more pampered, coddled, and sheltered than a pro athlete. That's probably one politician I'll put in there and is being told every day how great he is as they bring him some crayons and that sort of thing. I don't say that to be mean. They're treating him like a demented old man. When they put these notes in there, and I know he's struggling cognitively, but you still treat him like he's the president of the United States. Tell him what he needs to know, advisors, Susan Rice, Ron Klain, your department heads, Buttigieg. Quit trying to protect this man from himself. He's the president of the United States. Go down with some dignity. Go down with some honor. Tell the man what he needs to know, not what he wants to hear. Sit down there and tell him, Mr. President, we can't win the war in Ukraine. We can't finance it for 3, 4, 5 years even. This looks to be a 10, 15-year war. The Russians are fighting it right on outside their back door. They've got too many people, too many soldiers, too many weapons. They don't have to ship them across an ocean. We can't do this. Remember Vietnam, Mr. President? We had to send all of our stuff over there. China was just right next door. Vietnam was their Ukraine. We couldn't beat them there because they had too many people, too much equipment. I mean, who's in his ear telling him that? Who's in there saying, Mr. President, here's your opportunity. Here's your maybe in this entire administration, you have a chance in your tenure as president to do something historic. Stop the madness in Ukraine. Call President Putin. Put together an envoy. Reach out to him. And make sure you do it publicly. Put the pressure on him, Mr. President. He'll either come to the table or be revealed as the crazed killer that you say he is. That's how you lead. A leader calls for peace, not more war, for a war that really, in all reality, cannot be won. Because you don't pay the price as a president. Just the 58,000 soldiers that were killed in Vietnam pay the price, and their families. In a war that they knew 8 years before it was over that they couldn't win it. Yet they didn't know how to get out it with their honor intact. Politicians are. Truth will set you free, but first it'll make you miserable, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Love and hearing Roy and Dale, but that means we got to go bye-bye until tomorrow, Taco Tuesday. God.
Who cares about the